Under the so-called border czar Harris, illegal aliens are stampeding into America by the millions and millions. They're coming from prisons. They're coming from jails.
I was Attorney General of a border state. I went after the transnational gangs, the drug cartels, and human traffickers. I prosecuted them in case after case, and I won.
They're coming from all over the place. They're coming from countries we've never even heard of. Most of the people in this room have never heard. They're coming from some very bad places, evil places.
We know our immigration system is broken, and we know what it takes to fix it. Comprehensive reform that includes strong border security and an earned pathway to citizenship.
Every day, Kamala is letting migrant criminals roam free to assault, rape, mutilate, and kill our citizens. Look at what's happening to our cities. Our cities are being overrun.
Earlier this year, everybody here knows, earlier this year we had a chance to pass the toughest bipartisan border security bill in decades. But Donald Trump tanked the deal. Because he thought by doing that it would help him win an election. But when I am president, I will sign the bill.
Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump both speaking about the issue of immigration in rallies on Friday. And wow, they have a bit of a counterpoint going on there. Joe, what do you think?
Well, they really do. And it's interesting, Donald Trump telling supporters that were concerned over the past couple of days that he wasn't changing his tact. He said, I am who I am. And that's causing grave concerns because what worked for him in 2016, most of his workers, most of his contributors, donors, don't think that's going to work in 2024. And when you see him using the same lines over and over and over again, and then you see Kamala Harris's response, it looks kind of like a 1971 Alabama football team running the wishbone, going up. Nothing wrong with that, of course, because they won in 1971 and 2 and 3 and 4. Johnny Musso for Alabama fans. Going up against Bill Walsh's West Coast offense. I mean, it's right. It's the old versus the new. It's the tired versus the exciting. You see that in the crowd. So he can keep saying the same thing that he's been saying for 8, 9, 10 years, but staying on this football analogy, Kamala Harris has the game film. She has the game films from 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19. She knows what he's going to say before he says it. She knows exactly how he responds to a woman candidate. You can see how he handled Hillary Clinton and what he did with Hillary Clinton in the debate, what the sort of attacks that he launched towards her. And he's not going to change. He's just not going to change. And he said, I'm not going to change. So she's going to be ready at every turn. I think the great challenge for the Trump campaign will be explaining to their candidate, sir, as he likes people to call him, sir, what worked for you in the past, sir, is not going to work for you in the future. And people have tried to tell him that. He hasn't listened. So I think who wins this campaign will depend on whether he's able to respond to this disruption in a way that's different than how he's responded over the past 7, 8 years.
Yeah, and saying that her crowds are AI generated is just going to make her crowds larger. Thousands of supporters showed up out west over the weekend for the new Democratic ticket, while new polls show Kamala Harris leading 3 battleground states. NBC News senior Capitol Hill correspondent Garrett Haake has the very latest.
With the Democratic National Convention now just 1 week away, Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Tim Walz wrapping up a week-long battleground blitz, rallying a fired-up crowd of 12,000 supporters in Las Vegas Saturday.
We know this will be a tight race until the very end. And so let's not pay too much attention to the polls.
Both online and at rallies, former President Donald Trump has repeatedly accused Harris of lying about the size of her crowds.
They said, oh, she had a big crowd. Oh, the crowd.
The Harris campaign poking back on social media with a photo of one large crowd writing, Trump has still not campaigned in a swing state in over a week. Low energy? The former president also pushing a baseless conspiracy theory about President Biden.
I hear he's going to make a comeback at the Democrat convention. He's going to walk into the room and he's going to say, I want my presidency back.
New polling now shows Harris leading Trump among likely voters in 3 key swing states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, all within the margin of error. Over the weekend, the Trump campaign said it was hacked by an Iranian group in June, and that documents were, quote, obtained illegally from foreign sources. The statement came after Politico said it was sent Trump campaign documents from an anonymous email account. NBC News has not independently verified the hack. Meanwhile, Vance is trying to walk back Mr. Trump's recent comments on abortion, suggesting he's open to banning access to a commonly used abortion pill.
Would you direct your FDA, for example, to revoke access to mifepristone? That's one of the things that's been discussed.
You could do things that would supplement, absolutely. And those things are pretty open and humane.
Vance says the former president believes that decision should be left up to the states.
You, of course, want to make sure that any medicine is safe, that it's prescribed in the right way, and so forth. But the president wants individual states to make these decisions.
Joining us now, we have Chief White House Correspondent for the New York Times, Peter Baker, NBC News National Affairs Analyst and Partner and Chief Political Columnist at POC, John Heilman, and Senior Correspondent at Time, Charlotte Alter. She's the author of the magazine's new cover story, which takes an inside look at the early stages of Vice President Harris's campaign. And Jonathan Lemire is still with us as well. Joe, it's been, it's sort of hard to imagine that this has only been how many days since Kamala Harris sort of exploded on the global stage and started having these rallies. It feels like it's been months, but the change has been almost traumatic. It's been dramatic, to say the least.
Dramatic. I mean, you look at, just what was it? The Philadelphia rally when Tim Walz was announced. That seems like a month. That seems like a month ago. You look at the assassination attempt, which seems like last year, and you look at you think back to the June debate with Joe Biden, and my God, that seems like so long ago. This is, I'm not really good with quotes by Lennon, but maybe Peter Baker can help me out. John Lennon, I'm fine with. Vladimir, not as good. What is it like, sometimes decades can happen in a week. Sometimes you go decades where nothing happens, and other times decades happen in weeks. That's as close as I can get. But I can give you all the lyrics for Tomorrow Never Knows. Anyway, Peter Baker, just trying to sort through this. Donald Trump's always been the disruptor. It's always worked for him in his professional career. It's helped him in his media career. It's helped him in his political career. But now the disruption has actually come his way, and it looks like he's still having a hard time handling that. And I'm not saying Donald Trump is out. We have a long way to go.
No.
But you start adding up all of the things that have happened. You've had this change. You had him surviving an assassination attempt. You had him sitting in a courtroom all summer. I can't imagine, even for the youngest and healthiest among us, that wouldn't have had some impact. And I'm just wondering, watching him talking about Joe Biden on the stage, hearing him talk about AI fake crowds. I know he's done it before, but he's got everybody in his campaign trying to get him to focus on inflation, the border, the economy. And he's just, he seems to be unwilling to do it. I wonder what the Trump campaign does to stop this extraordinary momentum by Harris and Walz.
Yeah, I think it's obviously disrupting him. It's disrupting his campaign. It's disrupting his mind. I mean, look, I think you were right to point out we've heard this before. We've heard this for 9 or 10 years. It's the golden oldies of political arguments that he's been making, and he doesn't have a new reel. And I think that it does risk feeling tired at some point, where she at this point has captured the argument about freshness and newness, right? She has turned the generational argument against him. She is the future, even though she's the incumbent, and he is the past. And the concerns that people had about Biden and his age at 81 now flow to Trump at age 78. He is not a new generation figure. If you actually watch his rallies any length of time, you'll find it hard to diagram some of the sentences he's trying to say. He obviously has his own issues with, age-related cognitive concerns. And I think that that's pretty obvious. And I think that, she is making the argument that we're not going back, capturing the future orientation of this campaign. That's what politics is about. It's almost always about change versus more of the same. It's always about future versus the past. And he needs to, for his own sake, to try to recapture that idea that he somehow is not a creature of the past, but in fact is a change agent.
And Charlotte, it reminds me so much of 2008, as Republicans were trying to figure out how to stop Barack Obama. And they even resorted to, at one point, it was a great ad, but, Barack Obama is the most famous celebrity in the world, comparing him to Paris Hilton. That was the best they had. And again, at the time, I thought it was a pretty darn good ad, but they just fed into the hype. And when I start seeing, for instance, I think, it's Wall Street Journal editorial page today talking about how Donald Trump should attack, where do we go here? Donald Trump should attack Kamala Harris on Medicare and on health care, while she is drawing Taylor Swift-sized crowds. Might be a slight exaggeration there, but 15,000. You get a sense that nobody in Trump world knows how to land a political hit on her.
Well, it's true that Trump has never run against somebody who was able to seize the spotlight and the momentum away from him as easily as Kamala Harris seems to have done in the last 3 weeks. I mean, I was at her Philadelphia rally about a week ago, and that crowd was not AI generated. That was a real huge crowd. 14,000 people were there, according to the campaign. And I haven't seen a crowd like that for a Democratic candidate in more than a decade. Hillary Clinton never drew crowds like that. Joe Biden never drew crowds like that. So I think that she has seized this energy and this momentum, and she's ultimately given the American people the thing that they have been overwhelmingly telling pollsters they've wanted, which is a credible alternative to Biden and Trump. Nobody wanted this rerun election. This was two unpopular old men running against each other, and a lot of people in the sort of anti-Trump movement, which, by the way, has overperformed over the last 3 elections. The Americans who do not like Donald Trump have been unusually successful in the last 3 elections, and this election was looking to be a very stale old rematch, and a lot of people in that coalition were feeling really, really down in the dumps about it, and then Kamala Harris gave them something to be excited about.
So,